Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff Sheehan calling in from Atlanta, Georgia. I really appreciate everyone joining us this afternoon on this webinar that will talk about Twitter, Twitter followers, and what can be done to help grow your business. I certainly want to thank the sponsor, Insurance WebX, where I'm a featured mentor, and appreciate their support very, very much. So without further ado, I'd like to get started on this, hopefully provide you with a great deal of information on my experience in working with Twitter and how to gain followers. I can state unequivocally that all the followers that I have, which is over 363,000 now, have been gained organically. I never bought a follower in my life. This is a little bit of description of me. I actually need to update this picture. It's a little bit dated now. I'll be so doing over the next couple of months, but it's really a pleasure to be able to work with you today on this, and just to be engaged with Twitter and the people that I've met through Twitter. It's just been incomparable with regard to what opportunities have provided to me, and I think it can provide to you as well. This is a little bit about me. I've been on numerous podcasts, radio shows, television programs, and what have you, talking about social media marketing, and also about a book I co-authored with another gentleman by the name of Al Smith called Hired Passive Employment in the Social Media Area. 8 years ago now, in this upcoming September, I had a corporate job, and then I was downsized, and since that time I've been doing innumerable different things in the entrepreneurial area, as well as running a career ministry involved in helping other people find jobs, utilizing LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Google, and other social media. It's been very, very rewarding, and hopefully can share some of those tips with you today. This is the actual social network show that I was on at one time. And I've also been included in various lists of some of the pundits put out there, such as 10 top influential marketers to follow on Twitter. I've been, over the last 3 years, I believe, on Brand Quarterly's 50 Marketing Thought Leaders over 50. Yes, I am over 50, and I consider myself perhaps the grandfather now in the social media in some respects. I am a grandfather to a soon-to-be 2-year-old, and on Twitter, I am one of the senior people that's involved in this area, and I love it. It keeps me going, and it's so great to interact with people on a daily basis. Top sales performance gurus through Rise Board, and also, as I mentioned, top 10 influential Twitterers on Twitter. I've also been IBM influencer and futurist, and have done a number of interviews with them, participated in a number of events throughout the U.S. with IBM, and it's a real pleasure to be associated with them and to write for them accordingly. I've posted now, I think, 14 blog posts over the last 9 months or so with IBM for their website. So really rewarding, and to share my experience over the last almost 40 years, actually, of marketing and sales experience with people out there. So why Twitter, you might ask? And I'm a Twitteraholic. I'm really out there tweeting away on a daily basis, but I think the number one benefit to anyone, particularly say you're in the insurance business, is incomparable connectivity. Twitter gives you the ability to connect with almost anyone from any walk of life. If you engage with them, you retweet the materials, mention them, support them, chances are that individual will get back to you and connect with you, and you can take that dialogue from Twitter over to LinkedIn, to emails, to phone calls, to face-to-face meetings. And this has happened to me with countless individuals on a global basis. For instance, 5 years ago, I was over in Phnom Penh where my son got married, and I met one of the gentlemen I'd met on Twitter. And since that time, we've become fairly good friends. I talk to him and communicate with him regularly. And who would have thought that it would have had that ability years ago until Twitter came along? Certainly, when I was a youngster, there was a thing called ham radio. It still exists. And I consider that Twitter is really the ham radio of today's generation, because it gives you the ability to connect with people from all walks of life throughout the globe. The other thing is real-time information. There's nothing else out there like it with regard to providing with information on a real-time basis as things happen, events throughout the world, within your neighborhood. wherever it might be, that information is instantaneously displayed on Twitter for you to look at, retweet, or do whatever else you want to do with it. Short sound bites. You receive information in very, very short 140 character information bites. So you can digest that. And if you're interested in a particular article or whatever else is being talked about, you can click through, you can take that research further to find out what it's all about. Popularized by Donald Trump, regardless of how you feel about our current president, he has done unbelievably amount of work with regard to creating further awareness for Twitter. I mean, he's on it on a daily basis, whether it's bad or good. However, he has really popularized the tool and has created a lot of additional followers in that with regard to Twitter, increasing the number of people that are actually engaging because they want to see what he's tweeting about accordingly. Creating awareness. It's a great tool for creating awareness of yourself, what you represent, and creating that to a global audience. If you're a local business, it can create awareness of you and your local business to the people within your local geographical area so you can connect with them accordingly and perhaps bring them into your sales funnel as potential customers for your insurance practice or whatever it might be on a local level that you're trying to achieve as far as your business is concerned. Credibility. You can position yourself on Twitter such that you become more credible, actually, than in a lot of cases you should be. I can tell you I've seen a lot of people that have positioned themselves quite effectively on Twitter that 2 years ago, they had absolutely no credibility whatsoever or knowledge or awareness within the social media marketing space. Yet, because of Twitter and utilizing that and tying it in with other social media networks, they've been able to position themselves as leading authorities within the marketing and social media discipline. Good and bad, indifferent, whatever you feel about that, it is happening. It's because of the fact that they were able to position themselves with regard to credibility. If you're a local insurance broker, I can't think of a better tool from a positioning perspective without too much work of creating an awareness via Twitter that's going to actually be disseminated to your audience within your relatively local geographical area. Thought leadership, again, position yourself on Twitter as a thought leader. I've been able to do this within Twitter, and it's helped position myself as someone that's able to get out there and speak with IBM, work with IBM and other companies from a thought leadership perspective. And then the other thing, and perhaps most important, it gives you the ability to promote others, promote causes. What I mean by promoting others is you can actually promote the activities of others, what great things that they've done to support humanity in that. So you're out there utilizing Twitter. You can actually do that on a day-to-day basis. It helps build goodwill for that individual. It helps promote you and what you stand for with that individual, and they might come back and connect with you. Causes, I am involved in a number of different causes from a philanthropic perspective, and it's given me a platform for disseminating information on those respective causes. For example, I'm heavily involved in the Parkinson's Foundation, and Twitter has given me a mechanism to talk about Parkinson's Foundation events in the greater Atlanta area, and communicate that to a very, very large audience that 9 years ago, would not have had the ability to do so. So it's been very, very advantageous from that position. So if you're a local insurance agent, you have a cause that you're supporting, I can't think of a better way for you to provide information out to your followers as to what is actually happening and the causes that you're supporting, what events might be of interest to the others in helping to support your respective cause. Marketing philosophy, this is, you've heard of flip the funnel and the sales funnel and that. This is a philosophy that myself and the individual I'm involved in, Sylvia France, have come up with called Core, which means that you have an event and it creates a mechanism for people to actually enter your funnel. So they discover you, they create an assessment, then hopefully you'll convert them, you can upsell them, cross-sell them, retain them as customers, and they become an advocate for your respective company or brand. Very, very critical, particularly in the insurance industry, that you subscribe to something similar to this. For instance, in the insurance business, An event is what usually drives people to engage with you, connect with you and others, whether it's a change of life event or something that has actually happened to them, or they anticipate in the future that they want to ensure that they're covered for. This really is part of the overall funnel building process that's going to help you accordingly, and that's our overall philosophy. The other thing is, one thing with regard to any of the social media tools, and particularly with Twitter, and this is a mistake that so many people make. They just jump on these tools without considering where do they want to be? What are their goals? What are their objectives? This is such a fundamental mistake. And how do you measure success? Increase the number of followers? It's great to an extent. However, if you don't put points in your board or generate revenues for respective business, do the number of followers, it's all for naught. It's great to have a position online, but if it doesn't result in revenues at the end of the day, it's all for naught in a lot of respects. And I had this discussion with an individual a couple of weeks ago at a meeting where the individual was saying that there's other pundits out there promoting, well, you should have this visibility and that visibility. I said, unless it results in revenue for you, it's not worthwhile in a lot of respects. So you need to consider that. There has to be something tangible that you derive from your activity on Twitter as well as the other social media channels, or otherwise you can't take likes, you can't take followers and that to the bank. How are you going to measure success from a monetary perspective, which is the most critical factor? The other factor is, with regard to measuring success, retweets. How many retweets are you getting? How much engagement are you getting with others? The other factor, driving traffic to your website. Using Google Analytics and that, you can tell where your traffic is coming from. And Twitter is a great source of traffic for your website. However, you need to make a determination as to how much activity you're spending on Twitter and the other social media channels, and how much traffic you're actually driving to your website. You might have to incorporate that with PPC campaigns, with prudent SEO strategies and that, but driving traffic as part of this overall social media and Twitter is very, very paramount to your overall success. And then having news or event information tweeted about with regard to what you're doing. How are you going to accomplish that? What kind of information you're going to present to your public to enable them to retweet or tweet that material accordingly. The other thing is an editorial calendar. This should be a consideration, is putting together an editorial calendar of when you're going to tweet. How often you're going to tweet? When do you tweet? And in my particular case, I found that Sundays seem to be the ideal day for tweeting, because of the fact that there's so many people that are surprisingly on Twitter on a Sunday afternoon. It's absolutely incredible. Tweets to support other marketing initiatives. Tying it all together, you want to have an integrated marketing strategy with regard to what you're doing. And not just sign up for Twitter, but the other social media channels as well, and integrate them accordingly. So whatever you're doing on one platform is consistent with what you're doing in the others, and supporting your overall brand mission with regard to what you're doing. And then scheduling your tweets. I'm going to mention the tool in a minute, but basically making sure that you have a consistent policy with regard to when you're posting tweets, when you're scheduling them, because people will regularly look for the tweets that you're providing you do it on a consistent basis. And if you don't tweet, they'll be questioning, has something happened to you? Is something awry or whatever? If you're not showing up for them on a daily basis or whenever they're anticipated that your tweets are going to be out there. But make sure you're not just tweeting for the sake of tweeting, but you're actually tweeting something that addresses the concerns of your audience. Like in my particular case, I can state, for the most part, the tweets that I've put out over the last 8 years have been primarily to marketing people and salespeople, for the most part, although some job seekers in that, in conjunction with the book that I was promoting. And the thing is, the reason I've done that is that's my target audience. I want to do something that is really germane to them and aligned with what they're looking for, and don't do something that is totally out of whack. The only thing I might do is periodically comment on a concert I've attended or some other activity, and also maybe what I'm doing as far as running. But generally, everything that I do is aligned with what I'm doing with regard to marketing. And the reason I initially got involved with Twitter was and aggressively pursued building a follower base is because of the fact that I wanted to write a book, and the book was going to be about marketing. So I went after that particular demographic, and I got involved in the job search career ministry area, and so what happened is essentially took a lot of what I had produced in that particular area and wrote the book, and then I had the distribution channel for that book, which is a little bit misaligned in some respects with my target audience initially with regard to Twitter itself. This is my bio here. Again, I need to update the photo. It's a little bit dated, but nevertheless, it just shows you from my particular bio. If you see here, I use hashtags effectively, such as ATL, which is Atlanta, where I live, social selling, which is something I work in that area, advising others and giving webinars and actually seminars on that to different companies with regard to social selling activities. I've been involved in this area, the selling and marketing area for decades, so I have a great deal of experience in that area and what people are looking for. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to one thing, is making your forecast and making the numbers to satisfy your boss or shareholders accordingly. I'm a marketing pro, speaker, author, podcaster, and Toastmaster. I'm in Toastmasters and really love it. And I love to travel. I love photography, and I am a runner, and I put down 13.1. I have not yet done a marathon, but that is certainly on the horizon. If you look here, I have my location specified, which is Atlanta, Georgia. I want to make sure they have that. And also I have it tied into my LinkedIn, because right now I'm going through a digital transformation and have it tied back into LinkedIn. Jeff Sheehan, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn at Jeff Sheehan. And I have this whole thing tied together with regard to LinkedIn until I rebrand my website and other things that I'm doing accordingly. But you want to make sure that you have a compelling bio about yourself. Who are you? Where do you live? A nice photograph, and something that ties in to you from a perspective of creating credibility, so people know who you are, and it's not just someone that is out there spamming them accordingly. I can tell you this one individual, I won't say who it is, but this individual is a beautiful blonde woman, and this person out there has a beautiful photograph. They don't have a tie-in with regard to who they are or provide substantive information. I've done Google searches on this individual innumerable times, and all that comes up is essentially it's a spam account. So beware of that with regard to bios. Make sure that the people that you're connecting with on LinkedIn, following accordingly, are all vetted by you, because of the fact that there is so much information and phony profiles out there. It's absolutely incredible. Also be aware of people who try to connect with you. They don't have an actual photograph. They have an egg-shaped avatar, and they don't specify a website. That's generally a dead giveaway with regard to the credibility of the individual of that. You don't want to waste your time with those people. It's nice to have a large number of followers, but what good is it if you're a local insurance guy and you have a bunch of followers that are bogus? Followers not within your geographical proximity, because of the fact that you want to make sure you have an audience that you can potentially sell to that's going to convert into business for you. Otherwise, it's all for naught. It's great from a positioning perspective, from a thought leadership perspective, and looking like you're greater than you actually are, but at the end of the day, it won't provide revenue for you if they're in other areas that you're not serving as a broker or insurance agent. The other thing is you want to have a Twitter profile look that shows a banner at the top, as you can see here: Jeff Sheehan, author, speaker, influencer, exploring marketing and social selling one tweet at a time. Then I have a tie into my website here, which quite honestly, I need to go back in and fix, because the fact it was hacked, and it needs to be updated accordingly. And then I have actually a photo of the book here on the side. But more importantly, I have the information such as the photo. Then I have the tie-in with my Twitter handle, the information that I just talked about accordingly. And as you can see here, I've actually over the last 8 years, I've really tweeted an awful lot. I've been on Twitter since 2009, so a long period of time. However, my tweet activity has really accelerated over the last 8 years or so. I have 354,000 people I'm following, and 363,000 plus are now following me. Which, if you look at this, one of the things you want to consider when you're tweeting with people or engaging with people is, what does this follower count look like? How many people are they following versus how many people are following them? And if this ratio, if people are only following 100 people or 1,000 people and they have thousands of followers, I would advocate not engaging with them because of the fact that the likelihood of them engaging with you is very, very minimal. It's great to be following them and taking a look at their advice of that, but generally those people will not follow back, they will not engage with you, and what good is it if you don't have people that are going to engage with you, retweet their things accordingly? A lot of it becomes a vanity metric for them with regard to that gap that they have between the followers and following numbers. So just be aware of that. Likes, again, I use this generally to bookmark within Twitter, things that I actually want to go back to and revert to accordingly. And other things, I might like something if I see something out there. And what that is if someone has come in and posted something about you and I like it, then I will like it accordingly. And you can see that there. The other thing I'm going to talk about in a minute, a list. And as a local insurance broker, I can't think of a better tool for you in your insurance practice than using lists within Twitter. It's something that's so greatly ignored by most people on Twitter, but very, very effective tool of garnering as much information as you can about your local prospects, the local news that is going on in your area through the use of lists. And there's a way you can do this in a way that you can use these quite effectively. As you see here, this is just a blow up of my Twitter header. And so you want to take a look at this accordingly. The other thing is, as you can see here, I have a thing called a pinned tweet. And as an insurance agent, what you want to do is you want to take something, either something that someone has said that's really good about you or something you published, and put that as a pinned tweet at the top of your Twitter feed. The reason being is if it says something like, in my particular case, honored and humbled to once again be named as one of the top 50 over 50 global marketing thought leaders. When people come to my profile, that's the first thing that they see. They can retweet that, they can like it, and it just helps to build credibility. So if you're a local insurance broker and you've got some type of accolade of that, please use that as your pinned tweet because of the fact that people will generally retweet that. It'll help position you accordingly within your local geographical area and help attract people to you, knowing that you are credible within your respective discipline. So get connected. How do you do so? And how do you grow your following? Again, I'm a firm advocate of not buying Twitter followers whatsoever because of the fact that you're not attracting people to your target audience that are in your target audience. You're attracting people that could be in countries on the other side of the world, and you're attracting people that may be just fake Twitter followers. So just don't do that. Some of the easiest ways of adding followers right off the get-go is using your address book and the connections you have that in that accordingly, your LinkedIn contacts. And then the thing that I've done, it's been very, very successful, are the followers of followers. So if you're a local insurance guy, what you want to do is you want to find the followers within your respective geographical area, and I should have said a guy or woman, and take and follow the followers of those individuals, because in all likelihood, they're within your local geographical area, and if you follow them, they're more likely to follow you back than others who are not following others. So just remember, follow the followers of people within your respective geographical area that you think might follow you back. Again, it's your target audience, which is a local geographical region for the most part for insurance agents and brokers. And so you want them to connect with you, and that way you can engage with them and help fill your funnel utilizing various tools that I will provide you some information with later. And then the others, there are other myriad ways, which I'll discuss in a minute with regard to getting followers. It's a question of work. None of this is rocket science. However, it is hard work. There are no easy steps involved. It does take some time. And people are telling you, you can be successful in social media around 15 minutes a day. They're full of it. It's a bunch of fluff. You need to work this stuff in order to be successful at it. And you need to engage with people, and it does take time and energy. Upload your connections, as I mentioned. So, take your address books as what you leave here today and start uploading connections to Twitter and other social media channels out there. Find and follow your LinkedIn connections on Twitter. This is something that's so overlooked. So you find your LinkedIn connections, see who they are, and go through, look at their bios and the information they have on your first level connections, and see if they're on Twitter. If they are, stop following them, because chances are, if they're connected with you on LinkedIn, they will connect with you on Twitter accordingly. Get the mobile app. Hopefully most of you have the mobile app for Twitter. I use that. I might sit there in my chair and actually scroll through it at night and look at what's been posted with regard to news. Also, from a follower perspective, I found that is very, very valuable with regard to quickly connecting with people. Because it's a fact that, again, getting back to my followers, I can go in and look at someone that I'm following and look at their respective followers and can quickly go through and follow those followers on mobile. It makes it very, very easy. Also, I want to warn you that Twitter in their API or application protocol interface, they have some idiosyncrasies on it. So if you follow too many people at one time, they'll come back and send a message to you that there's some irregularity with regard to your Twitter account, and they want to make sure that the account is still valid and not a bogus account out there. So just be aware of that. So you have to do it incrementally. Maybe follow 20, 25 people at a time, then come back a couple of hours later, do it again accordingly with regard to this, so that you don't upset Twitter and get thrown in Twitter jail or get that message from Twitter indicating that there's something wrong with your account or potentially wrong, and they want you revalidated. Because of the fact, I can tell you, it's very, very frustrating, time-consuming in that. So just be aware that the Twitter does have some upper limitations with regard to following. The other thing is, with regard to some of the tools out there and what you can use for following, I found that that would be the case as well, where if their APIs are structured in such a way that they follow too many people, then Twitter will come back and warn you accordingly with regard to those tools as well. So just be aware of that. So following more people, this is just an example, and the reason I picked Avalon is a shopping center here in the greater Atlanta area in Alpharetta, Georgia, actually. Just want to demonstrate, if you're a local insurance agent or broker in the greater Alpharetta area, what you want to do is you want to find businesses such as Avalon within your geographical proximity. The reason being, as you can see here in Avalon's case, they have 15,600 followers. Chances are that 90% of those followers are within geographical proximity of Avalon. Otherwise, it wouldn't be following Avalon in a lot of cases. So if you're an insurance agent, there are 15,000 people, or 90% of those, that are potential clients for you. And if you start following some of those people, and again, you have to do it incrementally, chances are they will come back and connect with you accordingly. And then there are various things that can be done once they start following with regard to building an email list and connecting with them further on other social media platforms and connecting with via email. I don't have time to get into this today, but there are ways of doing that. The other thing is mining the list of these local businesses, such as in the Avalon's case, they have 3 lists, and I'm going to show you this in a minute. But basically, what lists they're on and what lists they're following can provide you with an abundance of information with regard to their business and people in businesses in the area that might be potential clients for you. The other thing is likes. You want to take a look at the likes. What are they talking about? What are people liking with regard to what Avalon is liking, and see what they're actually talking about with regard to your respective area. Because some of those likes might be things that you might want to retweet because they'll be germane to the insurance prospects or insurance customers you have within your geographical proximity. The other thing is you can use the tool Twitter Advanced Search to find prospects or potential people to follow within the area. By going in, I don't have time to get into this today, but basically it's a very, very useful tool. A lot of people overlook for finding followers and prospects within your respective geographical area. It can help you really focus in and hone in on the people that might be great potential prospects for you accordingly. So engaging with new followers. The thing is, once you engage with people, what you want to do is you want to go back and say, thank you for the follow. And the thing is, don't try to sell them your insurance policies or insurance packages or insurance services from the get-go. You want to cultivate a relationship. This is critical within the social selling environment that we're in. So go back and just say, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. And then start engaging with them by retweeting the things or just making comments with regard to what they posted on their Twitter handle. And chances are that engagement is going to translate into a relationship with those individuals and carry through to email, to phone calls, to face-to-face meetings, and then hopefully that will convert into sales for you. So just be aware of that. You want to thank them for following you. It becomes very cumbersome if you have a lot of followers on a daily basis, but when you're starting out, you shouldn't have that many, and it's not impossible to go back and do this. Now, there are some tools out there that will automate this process for you, but I highly suggest that you don't use tools. You personalize messages. We're in the personalized marketing era, and you need to personalize as much as you possibly can. When you go back to them with this, when you're thanking them, try to find out something, a point from their profile that really will resonate with them and comment accordingly. I think that they'll find that to be very, very effective and will help to create further engagement and a stronger relationship with those people accordingly. Retweet tweets, as I mentioned before, look at what Avalon in this particular case is publishing and retweet that material, because of the fact that that in generally the people that are reading that will be within that geographical proximity of Avalon, and hopefully if you're a practicing insurance broker or agent in the greater Alpharetta, Atlanta area, then people will see that accordingly if you retweet that. And also Avalon is likely to come back and thank you for the retweet. It creates greater exposure for you, awareness of who you are, and perhaps can create some type of relationship with not only Avalon, but the others that are following them as well. As you see here, this is mine here, 115,000 tweets. I talked about this, but just take a look at these. These are some of the metrics that you want to pay attention to on a daily basis. I talked about the list. So this is, I just want to briefly go into this. This is a list that Avalon has created. As you see here, the member of, in Georgia, this is a list of that people that are following Avalon have created, and a number of them. But if you look here at the bottom, you have Atlantans. You have 4,879 members, 4,879 members of that Atlantans list that someone has already created. Now, the thing is, as someone who's trying to get followers and someone who's doing business as an insurance agent or broker in the Atlanta area, I can't think of a better resource than looking at this particular list of Atlantans that are engaged on Twitter that could be potential clients for me. So what I would do is I'd go through on that and I would start following those people on that respective list. Again, they're within your geographical area for the most part, and the people will probably come back and engage with you accordingly. So very, very effective way of using lists and members of lists to build your respective business utilizing Twitter. This is another one here. This is subscribe to, as you see here. And again, doing the same thing can help you accordingly with regard to building a business. And then the other thing is, this is just a blow up of that. If you click through on one of those lists, what you see here, and I talked about the Atlanta list members. You can see here, it shows the number of members. This subscribers is the number of people that actually subscribe to this list. So what happens is they will see a feed from this particular list on their Twitter if they click through on that list of what's going on with each and every one of these individuals that's on that list. So it's an effective way of actually finding out what these people on this list are saying. But I would take and I would actually follow all these people, and then what you can do is once you create that list, there are ways of using this and building a list, an email list and a following list within CRMs. And I use this tool quite effectively for building a list of potential prospects. Very, very effective for an insurance salesperson or insurance broker to do so accordingly. The other thing is, if you look at this, it shows more lists by this, and they have Atlanta Direct Auto. I can't think of a better way too of clicking through on that and looking at the followers of that list to help build some followers and then connectivity and potential clients for you with regard to your respective business in the greater Alpharetta, Atlanta area. And then the other thing is creating your own. So as you're going through the Twitter profiles, people have connected with you accordingly. Try to create your own list of people within your own geographical area. Now, the thing is, you can have a public list or you can have a private list. If you're out prospecting as an insurance broker and you're building a list, I would hide that so that only you or the people, only you can see who you have on that respective list, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to see what you don't want your competitors to see what you're doing with regard to list building and who your potential prospects are or who your customers are that you have on that list. So please do that. Hide these respective lists of potential prospects or the actual customers that you might put on your list accordingly. You'd be surprised at the number of companies I've seen and giving my talks and showed that actually have the list in the public domain. So if you click through, you can actually determine who their customers are, who their prospects are. It's just a wealth of competitive intelligence, competitive information out there with regard to what your competitors might be doing with regard to fostering businesses and relationships with individuals out there. And then follow the trends. This is a great way of creating followers. Following twins, commenting on the trends, and using a thing called hashtags. As you can see here, this was an event that was held here last week called Sage Summit. They had a hashtag. So if you use hashtags within your business, it's going to help with regard to how you actually interact with people. Like if you're in the greater Alpharetta area, you might want to use an Alpharetta hashtag, which is the # with the Alpharetta, or # ATL, which signifies Atlanta, or also pound insurance, as it might be life insurance, it could be auto insurance, or some of the other hashtags associated with those respective disciplines, and utilize those hashtags. So if someone does a search on those within Twitter, they will actually come to your respective Twitter profiles, and it will help accordingly with regard to potential for building your business and prospects and engagement within individuals. Curate content. I'm a huge curator. This is an effective way of positioning yourself as a thought leader and as a particular expert in an area. Like in my particular case, I generally curate innumerable number of articles on a day-to-day basis. I go through and I read the articles, I curate that, I actually file them because I'm in the process of writing several other books, and I want information pertaining to the marketing area that I can utilize in those respective books and give certainly attribution to the authors. But it's a very, very effective way for you to position yourself as a thought leader. So if you're an insurance agent, you might want to be out there looking at articles on life insurance, auto insurance, some of the other household insurance, whatever it might be that's your respective discipline, and start curating content that will be of interest to your audience. Again, those are potential prospects or actually customers that you currently have that you can fill that funnel with. Make sure the content, however, is not from your competitor. You want to make sure that it's something that's aligned with your audience and would be of interest. Don't just fill them with fluff. You can use quotes. You can use a lot of other things with regard to content, but just make the major focus for what you're doing on things that you feel will be relevant to them as consumers of your products and services, and then intermingle things. The other thing is, if you're trying to sell something, make sure that it's like 1 out of every 10 tweets, and you're not out there blatantly trying to sell everything under the sun with regard to your Twitter profile, because people will unfollow you. They will not engage with you accordingly if you're doing that out there consistently. Twitter, as well as so many of these social media channels, are out there to help you create awareness and knowledge and positioning, and not so much from a sales perspective, although you do have to sell out because you have to pay the bills. And so you have to do that, though, but you have to do that not on a frequent basis, but maybe 1 out of every 10 tweets with regard to what you're actually doing. Post from Twitter to LinkedIn. You want to, you can you can tie things together with regard to posting from Twitter to LinkedIn, but very, very careful with regard to that. And you can use a symbol called #IN to connect those two accordingly. But limit the tweets that you send to LinkedIn. You can do, when you post to LinkedIn, however, you can actually, it'll carry through to Twitter, which I do quite frequently. I'm quite infrequent with regard to my posts from Twitter to LinkedIn because of the fact that from Twitter to LinkedIn, because of the fact that I don't want to overwhelm people with the large number of tweets that I tweet on a daily basis in my LinkedIn channel. I can tell you there was a gentleman here in town that was tweeting away maybe 30 tweets a day or 30 posts on LinkedIn. I actually blocked him from my channel because of the fact it just became so overwhelming and following that. Twitter's one thing because of the fact that things you post here only last a nanosecond. But if you're on LinkedIn and someone's doing that on a consistent basis, it really becomes quite problematic. I post regularly, schedule things. This is a tool I use called HootSuite. I think it's the best tool out there for posting. I love it. I've been using it for years. And I schedule my tweets. I'm often up very, very early in the morning, looking at articles that I think will be relevant to my audience, and then scheduling the tweets for the day as much as I possibly can. And then creating those tweets, posting them to HootSuite for potential publishing later on. And it becomes very, very effective with regard to getting that information out there and without my having to sit at a desk all day and just do nothing but tweet away. This is the tool here I'm talking about, HootSuite. Very, very useful tool. I use the free version, even though there is a paid version of it, and I've been using it for years. And the free version has really helped me tremendously with regard to building my following and allowing me to create content, curate content and get it out there to my respective audience. So uses for HootSuite, monitoring and listening. It's a very, very effective tool for that as well. Like, for instance, if you're in the insurance agent in the greater Alpharetta area, you might want to set up a hashtag in the column for Alpharetta News. You might want to look at greater Roswell and some of the other things that you can monitor and listen for with regard to the people, what they're doing in the respective area. It gives you the ability to not only update yourself with regard to what is going on in the area, but potentially find clients or people to follow that could potentially turn into clients for you. Scheduling, I just mentioned that, and then content creation, very, very useful for that. Tying this all together, one of the things is Twitter has a 140 character limitation on what you can post. I use a tool called Bitly and tie that in with HootSuite because of the reason I use that, and not just through HootSuite, because of the fact that Bitly gives you great analytics. I can track things. The other thing, it is a free tool, very, very helpful with regard to minimizing the character count of the content that I curate and getting it out there to my audience. As you can see here, it gives, this is Bitly here in the analytics that it provides you with. Like in my particular case, 5,152 clicks, 3819 dark traffic, and where the traffic came from. And you can see here, 3,500 of the 5,100 came from the United States. So some very good analytics with regard to looking at where your traffic came from. And you want to make sure, for instance, you're a local insurance agent or broker in the Alpharetta, Atlanta area, that your traffic is coming from your general proximity. What good is the traffic from someplace in Africa or someplace in Asia if you're not connecting with your target audience in your respective area? It's meaningless in a lot of cases. All it does, it builds your numbers, but it's not converting into actual prospects or potential revenue for you. The other thing is there are other tools out there. There's a tool called Twitter Counter that'll provide you with a lot of stats with regard to analytics. I have used this in the past, and they have a tool within that called Twitterholics, so you can ascertain what your respective position is in the geographical area. They have modified that a bit over the last few weeks, and some of the functionality that was there back 6 months ago is no longer there. However, this is a great tool that I have used from time to time with regard to determination of where I stand, respective subject matter, and with regard to the geographical area. Now, this is my position here. As you can see, Jeff Sheehan, top 50 over 50 marketing thought leader, number 26 globally as a marketing authority, IBM influencer and futurist. I'm teamed with a lady by the name of Sylvia France. She's a Fortune 10 digital marketing professional, marketing futurist, and bootstrap. These are some of the companies we've worked with over the years, as you can see here. I've had a very illustrious career and worked with some of the world's largest companies, and Sylvia has as well. And what we've done is we've put our process together, I should say, our thoughts together, and created a new marketing philosophy called at a core, as I mentioned at the outset, where it's taking the funnel and using events, discovery, assessment, conversion, upsell, retention, advocacy into this at a core philosophy. And we're utilizing this to help create leads for our respective businesses. And what we have is a course, 3 hours for $197 as a today's special, for setting website goals, digital marketing mistakes that we've encountered the overall philosophy and corrective actions based on data. So this, in a nutshell, is what we're offering with regard to this. So you can contact me at 770-366-1047 or jeffsheehan2010@gmail.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn, as I mentioned. I was going to ask any questions or comments. Hopefully this was helpful for you. So could you please chime in on any questions or comments? Any questions? Yeah, you can email also if we don't get to any questions that you might have this afternoon. Was this helpful? Oh, I appreciate the comment there. Again, I would just highly advocate that everyone follow a similar process with regard to trying to build their followers. Do not buy followers. I can't say that more unequivocally. It's not in your best interest. You think you'll be able to utilize these thoughts that I provided this afternoon with regard to building your business? I really think it can work in almost any business out there, particularly helpful from insurance agents and brokers within the geographical area that they're trying to attack with regard to finding potential prospects and then connecting with them. Well, I really appreciate everyone's time. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to take this offline, jeffsheehan2010@gmail.com. And certainly appreciate you signing up for the course that Sylvia and I will be rolling out. I think it'll be very, very helpful. Two of us have a tremendous number of years experience in marketing and sales, and I think we can provide you with innumerable tips in that really take your business to the next level. Thank you very much, and everyone have a pleasant afternoon or morning, wherever you might be in the world. Thank you.